Cool. Okay, sitting up nice and tall. Relaxing your shoulders away from your ears. And I want you to take a second here and just imagine yourself draining of all worry, of all negativity, any negative self-talk, any stress, just anything that somebody else has said that's kind of like been hanging out in your field. Just take a second to imagine with every exhale, all of that just draining down out of your body, right out through your bum, into the floor, and then all the way down into the earth. And Mama Earth will take care of that. She'll clean it up, recycle that energy, and put it out into the world in a positive manner. So just using this amazing release system that we have built in that we always forget about. We have like a what are those called? Incinerator. When the garbage disposal in your sink, it's called an incinerator, which I think is hilarious. So I want you to think about using your own internal incinerator, flushing that down into Mother Earth, where she's gonna grind it up and get rid of it. Jaw soften, just all the tension you're holding in your body, find it, kind of mentally draw a circle around it and then watch it melt down into the earth. I was up yesterday watching YouTube clips of the Graham Norton show on the BBC, and he's brilliant if you've never seen his show. And he had Cher on from when she was doing Mamma Mia. And she said that the best piece of advice she'd ever been given was from her mom, who is like 96, 97 years old at this point and still kicking and still looks good, just like Cher. So it's working. This piece of advice is working. She said, when something is troubling you, ask yourself if it's going to matter in 5 years. And if it's not going to matter in 5 years, just let it go. So any stress that you're feeling in your life, think about it in terms of like, is this going to make a difference and impact in my life in 5 years? And if it's not, then just incinerate that shit right down into the earth and out of your body, out of your mind, out of your body, out of your energy field. We hang on to so much that we just don't need. We're going to get started today. We're going to do some back strengthening and chest opening to help with posture and back pain. So I explained this before class, but now I'm going to explain it again for those of you who are watching it at a later date. It's really important when we think about back pain to recognize that oftentimes neck, shoulder, back pain is caused because our chest is too tight, not because our back is too tight. Our back is essentially spasming because it's being stretched constantly because we are super tight in our chest. So as we move into the idea of releasing neck, shoulder, back pain, we have to think about strengthening the back and opening the chest. And before we strengthen the back, it's very important to open the chest first so that our back can have the right amount of movement to do the things it needs to do to get stronger. So everybody's like, oh my God, my neck, my shoulders, my back hurt so bad. And we want to hate on those areas, but really it's because we need to open our heart, both literally, figuratively, emotionally, energetically, all that jazz. So that's where we're going to start today. I want you to come onto your hands and feet and bum. And we are going to start with our fingers rotated forwards. And this is just going to create a little bit of, a lot bit of internal rotation, which we already have a lot of. But I just want to get a little movement through the shoulders. So most of the time I work externally, but today we're just going to start internally to create a little more space through the lats, actually. So fingers are pointed forwards, spread your fingers, and just lifting your chest here and kind of arching your back as if you were over top of a fitness ball might be absolutely plenty for you. If you need more, you can push into your heels and lift your hips up. And as you do this, you want to think of dragging your butt and your knees away from your arms, because if you come back here, you're just shortening up that distance again. So as you come up, keep your knees moving towards your toes, and that's going to open up through the shoulders. So both options we've got here: butt down, butt up and away. And then lower down, shake it out. Give everything a good wiggle. Okay, and now we're going to turn the fingers away and come into that external rotation. So again, we start off by just lifting the heart, arching through the upper back, breathing. Nice big breaths will assist. And then if you need more, you pick your butt up and again move the knees away from the arms. Squeezing the shoulder blades together and moving the shoulders down towards your hips as you're doing this, whether your butt is on the ground or lifted up. Good. And then we come out of it, shake everything out. Ugh. And we'll come onto our sides. So you're gonna line yourself up in one long line. So you want to make sure your butt's not sticking backwards, but you're in one long line and you're kind of pressing your pelvis forwards. And you'll start off with your elbow right under your shoulder. You can support in front if you need to with your hand. Just make sure your chest stays open. So this is the most gentle version. If you want to go a little deeper, you externally rotate, plant the hand, and then straighten up through the arm. And if you want to go deeper, you just keep working your hand back. But it's super important that you pretend you're stuck between two planes of glass. So you're not tipping forwards or backwards, you're not piking at the hips. But there's a sensation of driving the pelvis forwards. And then you think about just softening this whole right side body and opening up between the ribs. And something that I've found, I'll hang out and like let that shoulder drive up towards the ear. And then after I've kind of hung out here for a little bit, I start to push through the arm and pull the shoulder down. And that opens up just above the hip. And then I slowly drop it back down. So it's a very slow and controlled movement, but extending through the neck and shoulder and then releasing. So this kind of lubricates the shoulder blade, but it also teaches your body, your lats, how to engage and disengage so that you can start to move that shoulder blade up and down. Because that seems to be a really big issue these days with folks. We're just not allowed, we're not capable of getting our shoulder blade to move like it should. A couple rounds of that. All the while, making sure you're breathing. Good. And the knees. Swing yourself around. To the other side, line yourself up, one long line. Start on the elbow. Make sure that you are not tipping forward to back and that you're not piking in the hips. And you can hang out here on the elbow, or you can rotate and come up. Start off really passive, so allowing yourself to sink into your shoulder and just soften that whole side body. And you might notice one side is significantly more tight than the other. Nice and slow, start to press through that shoulder, engaging the shoulder blade down and the top of the shoulder away from the ear. And slow and controlled, releasing back down. And usually on the side that is more tight, this is more challenging. Okay. Roll onto your belly into Sphinx pose for a moment. So elbows stacked under the shoulders. Soften your belly, soften your rib cage. Keep your collarbones wide. You're gonna widen the elbows, bring the chest down, hands under the shoulders, peel yourself up and back and stack your hips on top of your knees. Keep the hips on top of the knees and walk the chest forward, dropping the heart down. You can rest on your forehead or you can turn your head to one side. Now, if you are doing that and you feel like, oh, that's so lovely, I want to go deeper, You can by elevating your elbows, palms together, fingers towards the sky, drop the heart down between the elbows, and that will get significantly deeper into the shoulders. Pushing into the hands or the elbows, you're gonna come on up onto all fours. And we're gonna do cat-cow variations. I'm gonna take this off so you can see better. So essentially we're gonna start with keeping the shoulders and the rib cage completely stable. And we're gonna slowly add chunks of spine as we move up towards our head. So you'll start off on all fours. And you wanna keep your head, shoulders, and rib cage completely stable. And you're just going to arch the low back, so tip the pelvis forwards, and then round the pelvis back. And you're going to take that in as far as you can each direction without arching through the rib cage, shoulders, neck, or head. So it's going to be a much smaller movement. It's going to feel super weird because it's not something we typically do, but we're just isolating different areas of the spine so we can create more mobility. Come back to neutral, and then this is going to be a little wonky. I want you to think about rolling your pelvis. So what it's going to look like if you were seeing it from this position is my ribs are staying super stable and I'm just rotating my pelvis around as if I was inside a barrel, but I was stuck through here and all I could do was move my hips. Again, isolations and switch directions. Go the opposite way. And then we'll come back to a neutral spine. Now we're going to start to bring our rib cage into it, but just from essentially our diaphragm down, okay? So just this little first couple ribs. If you were to palpate your ribs here, you find that bottom of the rib cage and you follow it up, it comes up to a little point just below your heart. So you want to think from that point to the hips is what you're going to be moving. So the shoulders and the upper rib cage stays really stable. So we start again at the tail. The tail initiates this movement. But again, you want to think that you're kind of stuck somewhere around the shoulder blades and you can't move them. So we're just bringing the bottom ribs into play here. Shoulders stay nice and strong and stable. Use the floor to brace so that you don't move through the shoulder blades. A little bit of brain yoga today. Trying to teach the body to really work consciously, increasing your awareness of where you're stuck in your spine by decreasing mobility. And you'll notice as you're doing this that your core has to work really strong, especially as you round. You'll feel how that core draws up towards the spine. It's a really great way to teach your core to engage, because I talk about this all the time. but it's sometimes really hard to feel. So come back to neutral, and you're going to start that circular thing going on with the pelvis. And again, we just allow it to come up into the bottom ribs, but we keep the shoulders really stable. And it should be easier than the last one. We've got more length of spine to work with, but you should start to feel almost fatigue through your arms and your shoulders. Switch directions. Good, come on back to a neutral spine. So now as we do cat and cow, we will bring the shoulder blades into it, the shoulders into it, but we'll stop right at where the thoracic and the cervical vertebrae start and stop. So neck and head are going to stay super stable as we round everything else and arch everything else. So for those of us that have hot spots between the shoulder blades, this is clutch because we're really pushing as we round through the space between the shoulder blades, and we're not bringing the cervical spine into it. And that is just makes such a huge difference in stretching and mobilizing the shoulder blades. And again, the core has to work extra hard because we're limiting the mobility. When you come back to a neutral spine, start again in the pelvis with the rotation and let that move up through the spine, right up into the shoulder blades, but not up into the neck. Switch directions. And then come back neutral. Start again, and this time try to bring it into the neck without bringing it into the head. So I'm not dropping my head. I'm rounding my neck as much as I can. So there will be a very slight tuck of the chin and extension back and forth, but it's really just happening so slightly at where the brainstem enters the skull. So my eyes are glued to the floor, and I'm moving as much of my spine as I can without moving my face. And really exaggerate through each end range of motion. So as much as you can, arch through every vertebrae, and as much as you can around. Come back neutral, and then start that rolling around. So again, everything except the head. Keep those eyes glued on the mat, face planted down towards the mat. Switch directions. Good, come back to a neutral spine. Now we're gonna do the whole spine. So we start tucking at the tail, we roll all the way through the spine and finish with a nice strong tuck of the head looking towards your belly button. And then we start the spine again and arch all the way through. Bringing the face forwards and the eyes up towards the eyebrows. Tucking through the tail, rolling through the spine. Finishing, looking at the belly. Arching in the tail, rolling through the spine. Finishing with the face looking forward and the eyes rolled up. So again, as we move through these, we want to focus on the end range of motion through both the rounding and the arching. One more in each direction and we find neutral spine again. And we take it through a big roll. So let the head and the hips really come around for the ride, and think about initiating this through your rib cage. So it's as if you're rolling around the inside of a barrel and the head and the hips just kind of flail along as the rib cage leads. Switch directions. Good. Come back to neutral spine. Set your butt back and your arms release forward, child's pose. Couple big sighing breaths here. You're gonna roll on up and grab your strap or your towel or a shirt, whatever you got. And we're gonna work on strengthening between the shoulder blades. Now, anytime we're strengthening the back, it's incredibly important to make sure that we are also engaging our core. If we are not engaging our core and say we're at the gym and we're doing rows, we get kind of like this action going on, which is just going to upset the spine. So we need to be very strong through our core. So that feeling we had when we were just moving a little bit of the spine and we really drew the internal organs towards the back body, I want you to think about drawing those in again, okay? So if we were at the gym now, we would be nice and strong. Nothing would be moving except our shoulder blades on our body, okay? But we're going not at the gym. So we're gonna take our strap around behind us. And I want you to hold so that it's kind of about hip width. You can adjust this, but hip width is just kind of a good place to start because that's about shoulder width. So what this is, we're going to be starting on the ground in a second, but I'm just going to show you what it's going to look like. We're going to be reaching towards our feet when we're in the pose, squeezing our shoulder blades together, and then externally rotating. So if you were to stick your thumbs out, you would be trying to turn the thumbs up towards the sky, okay? And as we're doing this, we'll be lying on our bellies, and we're going to come into Shalvasana. So everything's going to lift up. Oftentimes, when we do these kind of back bends, whether it's, wheel or Shalvasana, we do this by pushing our belly into the ground, and it makes it much easier. I'm not looking for easy, I'm looking for strong. So I want you to think about pulling your belly up away from the floor as you lift up into this pose. So come onto your bellies. Bring the strap behind you so that you're hanging onto it with your hands clasped around it and your fingernails and palms facing your butt. Okay? You're going to reach down your butt, bring your forehead onto the floor. Try to pick your hands up off your butt as high as they'll go, externally rotating the arms. And now draw your belly in towards your low back as if you're trying to peel your belly away from the mat. You're going to peel the chest up, peel the legs up, keep pulling your belly tissue up away from the floor. Push your hands towards your heels, squeeze those shoulder blades together, draw the shoulders down the back like we were doing when we were on our side on one arm. And then try to pull the hands higher up towards the ceiling. Keep pulling the belly away from the floor. So most of the pressure should be on your pelvis. Good, and then release everything down. Let go of the strap. Oh, bring the arms out at a T. Turn your head to face the right hand so your left ear is on the floor and just rest. Oh. And that should be hard. It's a lot of things to think about in that pose. You're using the whole body and you're using it very, very specifically. Reach back, grab hold of your strap. Same position. Start off lengthening the arms down and up towards the sky. So this right here can be just an amazing stretch, bringing the hands up towards the sky. If it's super easy, you're going to want to bring the hands closer together on the strap. Bring your face down towards the mat. Draw your belly up into the back body and then lift the whole body up again. Keep pulling your belly up and away from the floor. Knuckles reach for the toes. Toes reach for the wall. Head reaches for the wall. Pull those arms apart as you're hanging onto the strap. So you're really creating kind of a tug of war between the hands as you squeeze those shoulder blades together. Keep the belly moving up into the back body. Feel the pressure on the pelvis, not on the abdomen. And then release everything down. Arms out, right ear on the mat. Couple big sighing exhales. Hands under your shoulders, press back into child's pose. Go ahead and take your strap away. Good. All right, we're going to do a couple rounds of vinyasa, partially to strengthen the back and partially to open the chest. So you're going to start off, you can start off on all fours. You can have the feet up or the shins down. And you want to take the hips forward so you're in one long line. So a modified push-up. If you're more comfortable, you can always come up into plank and do it from this position. But what we want to do is immobilize the whole spine again. And just like we were doing in that last pose, pull the abdominals into the low back. Okay, so from here, chaturanga just looks like the elbows bending, and the elbows bend straight back towards the hips, not out to the side. So we come down, and then we drop the hips and roll through the spine into cobra pose. Whatever version of cobra looks good to you today. Pulling the shoulders away from the spine, and then we roll through, tuck the toes up and back into downward facing dog. Okay, go ahead and reset. And I'll talk you through it again from the position of being in plank, if that's where you want to be. If not, draw the knees down onto the mat again. So if we're in plank, we want to make sure that the weight comes forward as we come into this. Again, both positions, belly draws into the low back. We lower halfway down and then sweep up. If you're coming from plank, you come into upward facing dog because you've got more room. And then both options, we drop the knees, roll up and back, downward facing dog. Moving around in your down dog, feeling through everything. Okay, so we're gonna have a little bit of a flow here. You're gonna roll yourself forward into plank, either stay in plank or drop to the knees. We exhale to chaturanga. Inhale into upward facing dog or cobra. Drop the knees, roll up and back. Downward facing dog. Lifting the right leg up. Step it forward between the two hands. You can keep the knee up or drop it down. We're going to sweep the arms up. Internally rotate the arms. And then tip the chest up towards the sky as we drive the tailbone and the bottom of the pelvis forwards. Bring the hands back down, step the right foot back. Either stay in plank or drop onto your knees, lower down, sweep into cobra or up dog. Bend the knees, drop them down, peel up and back, downward facing dog. Moving around. Working out the kinks. Left leg reaches up. Step it forward and through. Knee stays up or down, up to you. Come on up. Sweep the arms up, internally rotate. Tip the heart up and then drive the bottom of the pelvis forwards towards the left heel. Bring the hands down, left foot back, knees up or knees down. Chaturanga, up dog or cobra, downward facing dog. Walk your feet up to your hands. Drop into a forward fold. Shake out your head. Bend your knees, roll on up. Okay, and we're going to come into a little bit of a balanced quad opener, chest opener. a little bit everything. So I'm going to shift your weight into your left foot and bend that right knee up like a flamingo. Bring that right knee back to meet the left. Bring your right hand out like you're going to wave to somebody, so your palm is out, and then reach back and grab the inside of the foot. Okay? Glue the right knee together to the left. Tuck your tail, lift your pubic bone. Right away, you should feel the engagement in the quad, so that's going to start to stretch the more you lift your pubic bone. Draw your abdominals back towards your spine. Press that right rib cage forward so that you square off your rib cage and shoulders. You'll get the stretch through the arm and shoulder there. Now this might be plenty. If it really feels like, nah, I need to keep going, you can slide the palm of your hand under the top of the foot and then bend the elbow backwards to pull the heel towards the hip. As you do this, you continue to lift up through the front body, tucking your tailbone under you, and keep the right knee strongly rooted next to the left knee. And then release that foot slowly down to the floor. Shake the legs out, shake the shoulders out, do a little dance. And then shift your weight into your right foot. You're gonna pick the left foot up, again, like a flamingo. Seal the knees together. Take that left hand, again, you're waving to somebody, and then reach back, clasp the inside of the foot. Knees are glued together. Pelvis tucks under you, tailbone down, pubic bone up. Engage your core. Bring the abdominals backwards towards your spine. And then send your left rib cage forward, your right rib cage back. So you're kind of like a bow and arrow here. You want to think, keep lifting through the front body and kind of press the pelvis forwards. And that's going to deepen the stretch through the quad. And then if you need more, sliding the top of the hand onto the top of the foot, sliding your palm onto the top of the foot. Engage more through the core, and then you can bend the elbow, pointing it backwards. Keep rotating the rib cage. Knees glued together. Slowly release. Both feet down. Widen the feet. Squat on down. And come onto your back. Bridge pose. But modified. You're going to grab hold of the sides of your mat. Push into your heels, lift your hips up. And then externally rotate the arms so that the inner forearm looks up towards the sky. And try to rip your mat in half. So bend the elbows, push the elbows into the mat, and pull your hands apart. So if you're going to split your mat down the center. Push through your heels, maybe pick up your toes. Good, release the arms, roll the spine down onto the mat, extend your legs for Shavasana. So if there's something that you need to make yourself more comfortable, go ahead and do that. Once you're situated, take a couple deep breaths in through your nose, out through your mouth. And again, imagine that connection to the earth where we can incinerate all of that shit that we pick up in life. Anything that's left, every exhale, let it melt down into the floor. Coming back to taking a couple big sighing exhales again. But this time really focusing on that inhale. And just imagine filling yourself up with good vibes. Sending the breath and those good vibes to every single cell of your body. And bending the knees, feet to the floor. Go ahead and roll over onto one side. And slowly press yourself back up to seated. Sitting up nice and tall. Stay with your breath. Inhaling the good shit, exhaling the bad shit. Bring your palms together at your heart center. Take a second to list off in your mind 3 things that you're grateful for. And just take a second to send out some positive vibes to somebody in your life. And it's funny, today is the 17th, and it is, I think it's the 17th. Yes, it is the 17th. It's a full moon, and it's also Betty White's 100th birthday. So, for some reason, just as I was sending out those positive vibes, I got the Golden Girls theme song in my head. Thank you for being a friend. So, just sending some of that good friend energy out. Thank you guys so much for being here with me today. And if you have any questions, feel free to shoot me a message. And I will see you guys in 2 weeks. Thank you for being a friend. Namaste.